Hey everybody, how's it going? So today I wanted to talk about something a little bit more personal. My wife and I have been trying to answer a question, and we think we've answered a question over the course of a better part of a decade, over a decade actually. I know it's over 10 years because my daughter is almost 15, which that's kind of frightening. I don't like that, but that's where we're at in life. So anyway, we've had this question that was asked a long time ago when we lived in Maine, and I was working second shift and she was working first shift, and I really didn't need a second shift at work, but I was there just in case. So I was at work and I was just, tearing through the Bible, because it was dead. Like I said, we didn't need the second shift at work. I was tearing through the Bible, reading front to back, all I could, reading extra things. Just really, it was a great time of spiritual growth and intellectual growth for me in my walk with Christ. So I was at work and I'm reading through, and I'm in Luke, and I get to Luke 14:33, where Jesus says that, unless you have forsaken all and follow me, you can't be my disciple. And that was that, but I really clearly felt God asking me, are you willing to forsake all and follow me? Now, of course, as a young Christian man who recently come to faith, maybe 2 years before that, I was like, absolutely, Lord. And I was all excited, and I'm going to forsake everything for the cause of the gospel. And I called my wife, and I asked her, and long story short, we really weren't ready to forsake all and follow him. I wanted to be. I wanted to be that guy who was ready to just lay down everything and leave everything and totally be abandoned to God, but I really wasn't ready. Neither one of us were. There was a lot of healing that needed to occur. There was a lot of things that God had to bring us through and work us through before we could really get to the point where we were willing to say, yes, we're willing to forsake all things and follow you, Jesus. Now, I want to be clear, when we talk about forsaking all, I think, in the passage, what Jesus is talking about is leaving the things that you have. And stuff is important, and we leave stuff when we forsake all to follow Jesus. But honestly, I think it's so much bigger than that. I think it's so much bigger than just getting rid of stuff, right? The more time we spend thinking about stuff, I think the more Jesus tells us to get rid of our stuff, because it becomes a hindrance. Stuff is not really, I don't think, what we're forsaking here. I think what it's coming down to is forsaking our limitations, forsaking our preconceived notions, forsaking the box that we put God in, forsaking the ways that we stop him from being able to move because of our lack of faith or trust in him. I think that's a big part of what we're really forsaking when we forsake all and follow Jesus. Again, stuff probably has to go. In anybody's life, you're going to find that there's things that shouldn't be there, or things that we're too attached to. But it's not about stuff, right? It's about getting rid of those limitations that we place on God. Now see, when we finally thought we answered this question was when we decided to get rid of everything, and we were just gonna totally live abandoned to God, and we were doing okay. And then we felt like we needed to do something. Right? So then we thought we were going to answer the question, or that we had answered the question, I should say, when we decided we were actually going to sell everything and move to Spokane to go to missionary flight school. That didn't work out. But we thought we were forsaking all to follow Jesus. And then later, when we decided to do foster care, we figured now we've answered the question, we are forsaking all to follow Jesus, because foster care is hard. But then he asked it again. So then we moved to Knoxville so I could finish up my degree, and we had to go out on this crazy limb in order to make this happen. And we thought we answered the question. But then he asked it again. And so then we thought we were forsaking all to follow Jesus when we're getting ready to leave for France for 2 months. We got 3 weeks of training coming up in Kentucky, and then we're gonna be unemployed and have nothing to do for a month. And then we're going to go to France for 2 months, and we're going to come home and not have jobs or anything else. And I figured, okay, now we finally answered the question. We have finally arrived at the place where we are forsaking all to follow Jesus. But in those still quiet moments I spend with Christ, I can't help but feel like he's going to ask the question again. And that's when I realized that it's not a one-time deal when we forsake all to follow Christ. It's a lot like picking up our cross and carrying it daily. It's a continual process that we have to do, where we have to keep saying, Jesus, I lay everything else down for the sake of the gospel and for you. I get rid of everything I think I know to follow you. I get rid of who I think you are, rather the limitations that I've placed on you. I get rid of those things and believe that you're bigger. It's about saying, God, you're able to do things that are vastly beyond what I can comprehend. So I lay down the boxes I've put you in. I forsake all of that to follow you. You know, I sometimes wish that my life was a little bit easier, right? Because even a crazy, wild man like me, who was one of the first people who's ready to be like, sure, I'll go. Or, hey, I got an idea, let's do this. I still like comfort, you know? I still like routine to a degree. I still kind of want to have nice things. But I wouldn't trade this crazy Jesus following life for anything. You see, I would rather forsake everything continually to follow him and walk in the newness of what he has for me. We have to get to the point where we're totally willing to forsake everything to just follow Jesus and say, let the chips fall where they may. And that's hard, because every time we do that, every time we take a step closer and we forsake something and move to a little bit more, something else happens. We get closer with God, and in that we have to go deeper in our relationship with him. And he takes us through new experiences, and we learn things about him that we never thought were possible. And we get more secure in who we are, and the next thing we know, we're more comfortable again, because now we've got a bigger picture of who God is, but he's still so much deeper. He's still so much more. There's still so much more vastness that we will never reach the end of. And he keeps calling us to that deeper place with him. But it starts with forsaking what we know and the limitations that we put on him, and not being attached to everything that's around us, and being willing to lay it all down at a moment's notice to go, for you, Jesus. So here I am, once again, thinking I'm willing to forsake all, hoping I'm answering the question right, and waiting on God to move because I know he will. Waiting for him to ask the question again, and praying I have the strength to say yes. So, I don't know. I guess the question is are you willing to forsake all for the call of the gospel? I don't know. Have fun with that one. It's just a thought.